Okay, my next topic will be on types of research design in qualitative research. So to give you an overview of the topics that will be discussed here, I'll be discussing the definition of what qualitative research means, design means, types of research designs in qualitative research. So you can already choose which one you want. And then how to select the appropriate research design for your study, the advantages and disadvantages of the different qualitative research designs. There. Okay. So there. So when we say research design, it's the overall plan or strategy when you want to address a question or problem. It's the blueprint for your collection, analysis, and interpretation of data. Okay? It's like your framework in your research process. So, ayan na pala. Okay, so again, it's the overall plan or strategy, blueprint for collection. Okay, so the importance of research design, okay, it provides you a clear framework so you can organize your thoughts, your ideas, and plan the research process. It ensures validity and reliability. So you make sure that you use the appropriate guidelines, the methods, the data analysis, and the interpretation of findings, because your research design should follow a sequence that is proven, that you really searched, that you really studied. So you cannot be questioned because this is really the process. It saves time and resources because it saves you time because you already know the step by step. You won't get lost, you won't get confused. And it enhances credibility, of course, because if you show the proof that it is well researched, well thought of, your research will really not be questioned. Okay. So, kulang to. These are some of the research designs, okay? The major research designs in Quali. We have Pheno, we have grounded theory, ethnography, and case study. Later, I have more to present to you, okay? So, let's first go with phenomenology. Okay. So, phenomenology, it focuses on exploring and describing the meaning of an experience as it is lived by the participants. Okay? It aims to uncover the essence or structure of phenomenon. Saan ako? By examining individual experiences, researchers using this collect data through in-depth interviews or observations, and then analyze the data to identify common themes and patterns. So, what is the keyword for phenomenology? Asan ba yung ano dito? How do I do this? Where is the pointer? Can I use a pointer here? Can I see a pointer? Oh, anyway, you go down to the third line, experience as it is lived by the participants. In short, when you want to study lived experiences, lived, hindi lived experiences, that is phenomenology. Meaning, in their day-to-day life, what are their experiences? That's why when you write the question, the research question, you ask, what is the lived, or what are the lived experiences of the whoever you're studying? Clear? Okay. So let's go to advantages and disadvantages. So for the advantages, it allows, excuse me po, it allows for an in-depth understanding of individual experiences. In-depth, meaning you have to immerse yourself with the participant telling their story. Okay? And then a rich and detailed data. You can't stop at, for example, what is You can't, for example, how old are you? 9. Where did you study? So they say Wesleyan. So you see those questions, they are answerable by specific data. So you probe, you dig deeper. So example, if I ask you, why did you study at Wesleyan? Follow up with, why did you choose Wesleyan? Okay? And then next, how did you feel about studying at Wesleyan? Things like that. Okay? So rich and detailed data. Okay, so it can, because it can lead to the development of a rich and comprehensive description of the phenomenon under investigation. Kasi you have to probe and probe and probe until you hit the jackpot wherein, ayun pala. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And you can only come to that if you probe and ask questions. Okay? So, let's go to the disadvantages. It may lack generalizability. Why? For Feno, it is lived experiences. So meaning, not everyone, it is subjective in nature. Not everyone has the same experiences. Therefore, we cannot generalize the findings. Usually in quali, we cannot do that because there's only, earlier you already asked, how many participants? 1, 5, 6, 10. So how can that 1, 5, 6, 10 be compared to the entire world? So see, generalizability will never be a description of how we talk about Pheno. Okay. So as I've mentioned, it is subjective because only that person with matching that criteria has that experience. Therefore, no two people can have the same experiences. And if you're lucky, because of the participants you've found, you will be able to come up with the lived experiences of someone fitting that description. So for example, the reason why we have our medications for headache, for runny nose, for cough is because people have searched people who have similar symptoms, and then when they ask, when does it start, when does it go away, etc., etc., this led to them to come to the conclusion that ah people the headache starts when they are stressed, when they are tired, okay, etc. So see, you have to pinpoint exactly the questions you have to ask. Okay. Later, I'll try to make you do an activity while we're doing this. Okay. Data collection and analysis can be time consuming and resource intensive. Okay. So when we say data, it's time consuming. Why? Because you have to do interviews, and one interview is not enough. By the way, please take note of this. A minimum interview for your transcription to be valid is at least 30 minutes. 30 minutes to 1 hour. If a panel of expert or an expert in qualitative research sees that your transcript is less than 30 minutes, that's not, he will reject your paper because it is not valid. You cannot get enough data from that. Okay? So it has to be long, rigorous. Okay. And then, aside from that, the richness of data is due to the many times you're talking. Because, introducing yourself to each other, that's already what? 3 minutes, 5 minutes. And then you still have to ask questions. Okay. Sige, I'll take the question from Miss Santiago. For Feno, can I do virtual or online interview? Or does it need to be face-to-face? Now, remember, later I'll talk to you about trustworthiness. That's a concept in qualitative research to make sure your study is credible. So, first is You may do it virtual or online interview. But when you describe how you did it, the interview was done via virtual means through a social media application. Now, um, the lesser valid answer would be if you did it via chat, via messenger. Why? You cannot see the face. An important part of qualitative research gathering is when you see someone's face. Why? Because you're all nurses. You already know this. The patient is holding their head. And then they say, ang sakit-sakit ng tiyan ko. Okay. So, okay. So, look, they're holding their head, but they're saying what is painful is the stomach. So, you cannot see the expression, the mannerisms, what else? The gestures, okay? Because there's a concept when you do, later when we talk about data gathering, aside from the actual text or speech that your participant will say, you have to look at the facial expressions, the gestures. Example, she angrily answered that she does not want to see anybody at this moment. She she banged her hand on the table when she was compared to other people, when the nurse said, I understand how you feel. Remember, you don't tell a person, we understand how you feel. So anyway, that's what I'm trying to say. You have to see it face to face. So therefore, the answer is you can do it virtually provided it's through SOCMED that has cameras. This is Zoom, Google Meet, Viber Talk, MS Teams, etc. Okay? I hope I answered your question. Have I explained time consuming? I think I did. So time consuming because it's time consuming because you have to keep on asking. Okay? And if for example you came to a standstill that your research is not, oh no, for example there are 5 people you're interviewing, see only 2 out of the 5 said they experienced this, that experience will already not be valid. You cannot use it in your paper. Okay. Next, guidelines for conducting phenomenology. Okay? So there are different proponents, okay, in conducting pheno. Pero usually, kasi we have the interpretative and we have the descriptive pheno. When we say descriptive, the goal there is merely to describe. But when we say interpretative, you interpret. Okay? So, when we say describe, you just explain. These are their experiences, period. But when you interpret, aside from the experiences, you add to the explanation. Clear? So, first, you determine what you want to ask, the research question and the objectives. And then you select the participants who have experienced the phenomenon. Okay? In selection, you have to create criteria. Now, you have to have that already, that concept in your mind. That, for example, you're working in UAE. So, you're a female. Therefore, I think it would be more ideal if your participant would be female because of the, cultural boundaries in UAE. So, your target would be a female in UAE, a patient female in UAE, experiencing whatever. Okay, I hope that was clear. Then you conduct in-depth interviews, observations to collect data. So in-depth, as in malalim, meaning you dig deeper, ask and ask and ask until you find that the thing you're looking for. Okay? Then you analyze by using themes, patterns, and commonalities. When we say themes, it's something that highlights the entire topic you're talking about. For example, they keep on talking about sadness. So your theme could be sadness, appreciation, or contentment. Okay. So your theme could be about that. Or for example, selecting the best school in Nueva Ecija. That's a theme. Okay. So the pattern, you check the pattern. For example, every one of my participants started by explaining the onset of their problem started because of a broken family. So that's a pattern. Because and and when digging deeper, they found out that it is due to abuse. Okay. So see, it you build from that. You don't stop at broken family. So you ask, I mean, sometimes you have to, it can be quite difficult because it's sensitive information. But since in the consent form, you already explained to them that these are the information you need, you just have to uh, ask them, I'm sorry, but I have to ask this, etc. And the common denominator. So that's what you have to look for when you do analysis. Before, the first Pheno paper I did, what I did was use yellow pad paper, the legal size. And then I just wrote there participant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I listed down everything that they said. And then what I did, I would connect the dots, which one. I think I have. I don't know if I still have it. But yeah, I would connect the dots and repeat it in another paper to show that who said it. I had 10 participants, so I would write down participant 1, 2, 5, 7, 6, 8, for example. Remember, if it's 10, you have to have at least 6 who has the same experiences. Otherwise, you can still include that if it's only 2 said it, but it's not you cannot add it to your finding. You can add it to your findings, but you can't add it to your conclusion. There. Because it does not appeal to it does not apply to everyone. If it is not in the structured questionnaire. Okay, we never do structured. We do semi-structured. Why? Because if it's structured, for example, okay, I hope you can see the one in the chat box. When it comes to descriptive Pheno, is it okay to dig questions even if it is not in the structured questionnaire? Okay, we don't do structured because the structured is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you ask your participants 1 to 10. All participants 1 to 10. Your questions as is, they will answer the same thing pare-pareho. Okay? Now, given that they answered the same thing, there's bias already because they had no choice but to answer it that way. So if it's semi-structured, meaning you have just a guide. You have a guide. But then they entered something new that wasn't found in your questionnaire. Then you ask that. leads to something else. And that's the new thing. That is the emerging theme. That is an emerging theme because it's something that you did not think about. Okay. So will there be a violation in the protocol? No, not really, because it has to be semi-structured, just a guide question. Okay? Miss Tukero. Asan na? Develop you're welcome. Develop a comprehensive description of the phenomenon. So after you've looked at the themes, for example, growing up, you define what growing up means. Growing up means students residing with broken families had to fend for themselves and learn to grow up independently. Yeah. So you describe, okay? And then here, validate findings through member check. I think Van Manen has this. That's a proponent of, I'll write it down here. Van Manen. Other popular, si Gulaichi, si letter G. Pangalan niya ulit? Kalimutan ko spelling. Gili. Gigli. Gigli ba? Wait ha. Tama. Gigli. Gigli. Si Husserl. Sino pa ba? Ayan. Madami pa. Okay? There are a lot of, what do you call this? There are a lot of proponents for Feno. Okay? Yun yung mga authors, ibig sabihin. Okay? So here, si Van Manen, meron siyang member check. What do we mean by member check? We already wrote down the commonalities. We already defined them. We go back to the participant you interviewed. You show them the results. Is this what you meant? Is this really what you experienced? And then they say, yes, exactly. That's what I felt. So it's already validated your output because they agreed with you, because it's them who experience it. So it's only them who can say yes. Okay. And then after that, you go write already the results. Okay. And then when you write the results, you have to, so you explain growing up is like this. Participant 1, open close parentheses, and then their exact statement. And then that's how you write your FIN. Okay. Do I need proof sa validation or member checking? The proof is you place in the appendices your entire transcription. So that's proof enough. Verbatim, you have to type what you asked, what they responded to. That's in your, that's why ang qualitative papers, makakapal. For me, in my Feno, siguro as a 300 pages. Pero nung nag-GT ako, I had 600 pages, volume 1, volume 2. So, because of the rich, anong 6/10? Yes. The 6/10 kasi, I'm very OC. I put another table wherein I placed the exact text and then where it could be found based on the transcript. So it's up to you if you want to do that also. But it just added, and in the actual write-up in chapter 3, you have to indicate which participants answered you that way. That's why, yan. you have to say 6 out of 10, mention this. Okay? Nansak mo anak ko, sorry. Sweetheart. Okay, next is grounded theory. This is not really for a master's level, but I'll just discuss this anyway. This was for my dissertation. I did grounded theory. So, going back lang dun sa theoretical framework, we don't do theoretical framework because, grounded theory, you are to create a theory. So, when you create, sorry for the background. Okay. So, you are to create a theory. We can, if you use a former theory, pointless. It's not, it would show bias or a priori knowledge. I will type it in the box. Okay, please check the chat box. It says a priori knowledge, meaning, anak, okay, when you say a priori knowledge, it is giving you ideas already about what can happen, which can bias you in the long run. That's why we do not do a theoretical framework for quali because it would render bias. So what is grounded theory? It's a qualitative research design developed to make a theory that is grounded in the collected data from the participants. Understand how individuals perceive and interpret their experiences and how this shapes their behavior. So, 2 parts. Remember, Feno? You have to get the experiences. So, it's similar to grounded theory. You get the experiences. But, you go back to them and ask them to interpret their behavior based on their experiences and how their experiences led to them reacting that way. My grounded theory was on intuition, nursing intuition as a means of teaching, as a nursing intuition theory for, ang title? Limutan ko tuloy. Nursing intuition, grounded theory on nurses education. So meaning, as a teacher, as an nurse educator, you use intuition to guide you in your class. For example, I don't know, nurses are good at that and intuition. We know when the student is not listening, is not interested, is not ready, mere looking. Okay? So, ayun. Anyway, that's grounded theory. Okay? So, advantages. Systematic and rigorous approach because you really have to dig deeper times 4. Okay. It's the resulting theory is based on empirical data and provides insights to participants' experiences. You just don't stop at experiences. You stop at how experiences create a change in behavior. Okay. So remember, what is a theory? Remember si Dabda. What is Dabda ulit? Sa loss. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Stages of grief pala. So that in itself is a theory. So siya process siya from denial until acceptance. Kubler-Ross was able to show to us the changes of behavior of a person who is experiencing grief. Okay? So, there. Okay? So, disadvantages, again, it's time-consuming and resource-intensive because you have to go back keep on going back to your participants to explain to you what they mean, what they felt, how it triggered a change in their behavior. So many times you have to go back. Okay? Now here, because it's something that you want to create, your biases can really influence the interpretation. That's why I'll write it down. What we do is we do bracketing or bridling. I'll just explain it to you a little bit, ha. Bracketing. When we say bracketing, we bracket, we write down all that we know about a certain topic and write it before we start conducting the study. What does it mean? What does it mean? When you bracket something, everything, my love, my hate, my guilt about that object, I write it down so I'm later on when the participant tells me something, oh yes, I experienced that also. So instead of him explaining to you, you already cut him by, sharing your own experience. So you don't do that. Although you can join the conversation by making him talk, usually in bracket, you let the participant talk, not you. Okay. So you bracket, you write down all your ideas before. So once you start the data gathering, you just focus on what the participant says. Okay, that is before, ha. Let me let me spe let me enunciate this. Bracketing is for before you start. Okay? The difference between bracketing and bridling is similar to bracketing, but before, during, and after conduction of the study, you're still writing what you're feeling. Meaning, before, I already write everything that I know. During, I'll write down how I felt when I interviewed my patient. Sorry, not patient, participant. Okay? Because you, uh, for you to live there, your preconceived notions about the study that's emerging. Okay, and then last, after, you still write it down because that would serve as your um, reflexivity process. Okay. Again, okay, next. Then the resulting theory may lack generalizability because, you cannot generalize talaga a qualitative research because you're only interviewing a certain few, a handful. How can you generalize 5 people to the whole world? Okay? Okay, so how do we conduct grounded theory? So open mind, focus on the research question, collect data through interviews, observations, and other methods. So, ano pa? You do coding and categorize them into themes and concepts. In Pheno, we do themes, right? Although we still do codes. But here in GT, there are 3 types of coding which I will discuss later. Okay? So sa Pheno, one time coding, sa GT 3-time coding. So develop a theoretical model that explains the relationships. You have to create your own model. Kaya ka magiging theorist pag may GT ka kasi it's your own concept that you built. Okay. And then refine the theory further through data collection and analysis. Once you've established your story, your GT, what you do is you add data, add from the studies to back up your data. So RRL, you include the RRL when writing your paper. Okay, again, you do member checking by going back to your participants and then you write the paper. Okay, clear? Ethnography, again, I don't advise this for masters, lalo na if you intend to finish on time because ethnography, you'd be required for at least 3 months immersion in together with your participants. Okay? So what is ethnography? It's a qualitative research design that involves observing and studying a specific cultural group or community. So the goal here is to understand their beliefs, values, behaviors, and social norms. Si Dr. Liabres, expert siya dito, ethno. Most of his studies are about ethno. He studies Badjaus, he studies Aita, the dumagat, Badjao, I think I mentioned that. So, since it's not the usual, you have to immerse yourself. When you say immerse yourself, you have to live there. You have to see where they live where they live by asking, can we stay here? I have to observe you, how they eat, how they use the toilet, how they eat, how they wake up, how they sleep, how they travel, how they work, etc., etc., etc. Until you'll be able to paint a picture of who that community is. So that's your ethno. Okay? Pero minimum is 3 months for it to be valid. 3 months stay, meaning, okay? You make laba with them also, you make plancha with them, how they do it. So, you know, you inculturate with how their beliefs, their values. Okay. So, advantages and disadvantages ng ethno. Advantages, of course, it gives you a detailed and comprehensive understanding of that cultural group. It's detailed because 3 months you've been with them. Studies show that 21 days of repetitive action would give you already subconsciously enough knowledge to remember blindly a certain action. So imagine what more if 3 months. How much more would you understand? Okay? You can uncover hidden or implicit cultural values and beliefs. For example, one paper that I've read na ethno is before the marriage, or no, sorry, after the marriage, the first night, you have the culture of these African aborigines. They have to use a white linen, and to prove that the female was clean, they have to put outside their house that white linen, and it should have blood on it. Meaning, when they consummated the act, the female should bleed because that means she is pure and a virgin. So, not everyone has the same practice. Another one that I saw is smearing a newborn's blood. I forgot which Indian ata yun. Indian native. Smearing blood on the doorstep or door handle. I'm not sure. Smearing blood on the doorstep or door handle to rid away evil spirits. So things that not everyone knows. Okay. And so by doing ethno, you have a rich data through observation and participation. Direct participant observation. You can see and you really participated in all the activities. Okay. So what are the disadvantages? It requires a significant amount of time and resources because 3 months. What if you're studying the whales? So you have to go dun sa marine biology life and live there if you're not from there. So you have to pay a lot. Okay. Challenging to maintain objectivity and avoid researcher bias. Why? So, example, again, an aborigine, what do? here, sorry, not Aborigine, here in the Philippines, the relatives of the groom, in Japan ata yun eh. Wait, I forgot. Ay, hindi ko maalala. Basta the relative of the groom, what they have to do is to sleep with the bride-to-be. Oh. You go there, that's against your morals. So, can you say, oh no, don't do that. And that's their practice. You cannot question it. So, it's challenging to keep your own beliefs when once you're emerged there. So, can you imagine the the bride has to sleep with the relatives there. Okay. Findings may not be generalizable, of course, because it's a specific community. It only applies to their community. Okay, how do we conduct it? No, you gain entry into the cultural group. Oh, by the way, if it is a special group, you have to go through the NPs, national. How do you say that? You have to go to their barangay to get clearance before you're allowed. You can't just, for example, you know someone who belongs to the Dumagat community. You just can't say, mag-aaral po ako, I have to study your, you have to ask permission, get clearance for you to be able to come here, to go study there. Okay. Okay, and then of course you have to establish trust because you'll be staying with them. And then you have to observe and participate in the daily activities to gain a deep understanding of the cultural norms and values. Conduct interviews and collect other forms of data such as artifacts or documents. So it would add evidence to your data, not just the interviews, but actual pictures, artifacts. And then you analyze the data by, again, creating themes and patterns. So you would see that they have a regular dance before eating, for example, etc. So you just have to, breaking of the bread, joining of the community of celebration, the marriage, etc. Develop an understanding of the cultural group and present the findings that it is respectful and accurate. Make sure that it is just objective. You do not include your feelings when you write it. No. What you saw, that's what you write. Okay? So, case study. What is case study? Qualitative research design that involves an in-depth examination of a specific individual, group, or phenomenon. Okay? To analyze a case under investigation. Okay. So, for example, dengue fever, like the usual case study about a person with Kawasaki, a person with rheumatic heart disease. I was made once a case study. I was a dengue fever with I was the first case of dengue carditis in our school. So, way back 2011. So, they had to interview me. Advantages and disadvantages. So, detailed again and in-depth. Complex phenomena. So, pag case study, it's not the usual dengue. So, what was my added complexity? The carditis. Because the dengue, I was not hospitalized, but it triggered arrhythmia in my heart. Okay, that was before. Okay. So, and then it also, instead of treating the dengue, I was given antibiotics for the carditis, the inflammation in the heart. So see, kasi I didn't have rashes. I don't recall having rashes. But all they asked me to do was hydrate and then the anti-inflammatories. Okay. So it can be useful for generating hypotheses. Okay. So, umiyak na. So disadvantages, again, not generalizable, time consuming of course, because what if in the hospital that person is just there for a week and then so you have to finish it there for 7 days, or if you need more data, oh, how will you go there? Your agreement was just to interview them while in the hospital. Okay. Risk of researcher bias and subjectivity, again, because sometimes a researcher would always like to input what they believe about something. How do we do this? Define the research questions to the case, collect data, interview, observation, and document analysis, request for the actual case. Analyze the data by identifying themes, patterns within the case. Okay. Develop an in-depth understanding, and then reflect on the implications to theory and practice. So, how do we do that? By saying, in the usual dengue, and then compare it vis-a-vis dengue carditis. How it could impact future studies. Okay. Okay, this is something that I like my student that I recommend to students who wish to finish early. Okay, this is one of the studies I recommend kasi pag Pheno, you have to do the themes. Okay. The themes take time. Okay. As in, you have to analyze bit by bit every single statement mentioned. Okay. So let's go to narrative analysis. So narrative analysis is a qualitative research methodology that involves examinations of stories, personal experiences, or life histories of individuals to identify patterns, themes, and meanings that inform a deeper understanding of social phenomena. I'd like to highlight the word stories. So, narrative analysis, what we use here is storytelling. So, if you remember when you're in college, a story is composed of three parts: the beginning, the middle, the end. Similarly, in narrative analysis, what we intend to do is find out the beginning, what happened, okay? What started the whatever. Then the middle, it can't just be the middle. So you have to find out what happened along the way, okay? So it's like a storyline that you're creating. That's why it's easier. And then the end, the conclusion, what are they doing now, okay? So that's narrative analysis for you. Okay, so the advantages and disadvantages. So again, rich and in-depth because you have keep to asking them, tell me about the story. You're not asking anymore. You don't have guide questions to lead them to certain things. You just ask them, can you tell me about this? And then let them tell you the story. And then you listen to the story, you listen for certain keywords. And if you think it's an activity during their life, you ask them about it again. So from point A to point Z, you already saw different things. Okay. It allows you for the exploration of individual and social identity. So of course, no man is an island. So when you ask them to tell that story, they will also explain to you other people who were involved in their life that led them to where they are now. So they can explain their family, their friends, their co-workers, their colleagues. And that's also a factor that you can look into when you're studying the narrative analysis, okay, or inquiry. Another term is inquiry. It can reveal underlying social and cultural norms and values. It can be used to inform policy and practice such as healthcare, educational, and social work. So disadvantages, it requires time because when you sometimes the story, you don't know where it will end. Kasi nga, they're still alive. How will it end? So you have to think of the specific concern. For example, nurses migrating to from the Philippines to America. So what's the end goal? To seek greener pastures. That's the goal, right? But when they tell you the story, they will say, it was very hard. The language barrier was very difficult for me. Yes, I'm earning much, but the cost of living is also expensive. So see, their story is different. It's they have not met that greener pasture because uh, we still owe a lot in the Philippines. So I still have to continue working. The my contract expires in 2 years, but I have um excuse me, I have a lot more mouths to feed, example. So you don't know when the story ends. So you have to take note of each time the participant will, oh my God. Amen. Sorry. Excuse me. Yun. Interpretation of narratives can be subjective, influenced by the researcher's own biases and experiences. So if you can relate, sometimes you tend to define for example, starting a business. Mm. And then the business wasn't really successful. So you say hardships in the business. But under hardships, you place instead not being supported by family. If the if if they did not say that thing, not being supported by family, the better theme should be struggles in starting a business. You don't put yun nga, not being supported because unless that was what the participant said. Okay, how do we do this? You collect and transcribe the narrative such as life histories, personal experiences, or stories. Remember, it's storytelling. You just ask them, tell me more about this, ganyan, ganyan. Okay? Identify patterns and themes in narratives through careful reading and analysis. You highlight events in their life. Diba? Beginning, middle, end. So you try to find out, oh, this is a crossroad that they passed. This is another thing that they passed. So, para siyang storyline. Okay? Coding system. So, si participant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lahat sila. For example, you want to study how one graduates from college. So, selection process. Oh, choosing schools. Interview. Entering college. BSN 1, BSN 2, BSN 3, BSN 4. Then graduation. Yun. That was their storyline. Okay? Interpret the findings by considering the larger social and cultural context. So, as I've mentioned, do not make it general. Do not make it specific. Okay? So, instead of writing the cause why their business did not work, you write down struggles in opening the business. Parang ganun. Then, describe the methodology, how you're able to come up with that, and how you were able to collect all the data. It's merely by interview. And this one, this is my favorite. It's photo voice. So from the word itself, photo and voice. Photo means picture, voice. Meaning a picture, when you look at it, it explains already to you. It already, when you look at the picture, you'll be able to understand what it means. Okay? So it combines photography with group discussions to give voice to individuals or communities. It involves participants taking photographs that present their experiences and perspectives, which are then analyzed and discussed as a group. Okay. So a photo voice that I did was my own experience. Photo voice on mothers who lost their children. So I lost my child. A therapeutic thing for me was to write. So I wrote down my experience of losing my first child on Facebook. And then from there, of course, a lot of sympathetic people, they would answer there. And then a lot of them had similar experiences. They kept on sending me messages until it made me think of doing this research, wherein I asked them if they were willing to be interviewed. Okay? So in photo voice, it doesn't have to be as in long interview. It's just you ask them about something. For example, when you lost your child, how did it make you feel? And they have to use a camera. So the question, this is the instruction. By using your camera, please take a photo or send me a photo that um that reminds you of how you felt when you lost your child. Okay. So what they sent me was broken glass, a switch, meaning sa broken glass because they felt broken daw. Sa switch is because they felt that they couldn't be switched on yet. They were on the, may logo dun eh, on and off. Andun pa sila sa off, meaning they feel that they need to be switched on for them to feel alive again. Things like that. There was a clock, a broken clock, and they said if they only could turn back time, then what else? There was a tree of life showing that ano ba? Hope, that they were hopeful that they would bear child again. Okay. So when you do photo voice, you show the picture and then you show a caption. Okay. Now that caption is supposed to be written by you and the participant. Photo voice is a participatory group type of research. Okay. So they have to what do you call that? They have to be able to share with you personally. It's not just you interpreting. Dalawa kayo. You and the participant are interpreting the photograph. And why is it easy? Because from the caption that you two created, you highlight something and that becomes the theme. Okay, that's why that's my favorite. Okay. So advantages and disadvantages of photo voice. Empowerment. It can empower participants by giving them a voice to express their concerns and experiences, because it's something that you can't really talk about because of the sensitive nature of things, but it's the photos speak largely. In a seminar I attended of Photo Voice, it was on food poverty. So when we entered the hallway, I didn't know it was props because it was a picture of a canteen, and then there was the two trays, one with the plates and then one with leftovers, and next to it was a picture of children eating food in the garbage can. So what does that photo tell you? That there are a lot of people hungry, yet there are still a lot of people wasting food. So, that image was so powerful na picture lang siya, pero it showed you so much. Okay. So it's a visual presentation. It can provide you complex issues. So sa politics, pwede siya. Okay. And actually, it's really used in politics to change the to to create how do you say this policy change. Policy change. Okay. Community engagement, because if you do it in a community, ayun. What are other things that you can do? Another photo voice is, sorry to say this, yung rape victims. So, sa photo voice kasi we have, in the end, an output. It's parang photo wall. Okay? And then you place there all the pictures alongside the captions or titles or themes. So, dun sa rape victims, meron dun yung nakatago, naka-shield yung face niya, meron dun yung knife, meron dun gun. What does that mean? Because they wanted to kill themselves daw. Meron dun, it was grains of mud because they felt dirty. So, see, it's objects, inanimate objects, but they were able to make it come to life by photograph. Okay, it's flexible because you can do it in different contexts. Okay, so disadvantages: the technical expertise. In photo voice, you have to do a little seminar dun sa participants kasi dapat may technique. Merong certain angles, okay, rule of three, yung light and dark. So in short, dapat medyo artistic. So of course, if you don't have the technical know-how, that's a disadvantage to you. Limited scope because sometimes maybe you don't really know the perspectives. You don't understand the whole thing, kaya limited lang yung share mo. Meaning maybe it won't be the photo they will send you will not be related to your topic. Okay. Then the ethical considerations, because sometimes they may take pictures of a person and that is private. So bawal. So like what I said earlier, the one the children eating in the basura. So what's something you can do? You cover the eyes or you blur the face. Ilan ko na ba to? Okay, how do we do photo voice? You identify the research question. You recruit and train the participants how to do the photography techniques. You collect the photographs. And then the participant should already tell you what the pictures mean. You analyze the photograph. You combine like photographs. Okay, ito, parang pareho to. Meaning nito dirty. Meaning nito unclean. Meaning nito hungry. Ayan. Then you conduct group discussions. The group discussions is if they only agree to join. Kasi sometimes if it's a sensitive topic, they won't join. Okay? So you have to tell them beforehand, are you willing to join a group discussion? A technique I do para hindi sila nagkikitaan is I create a Google Drive and then I place all the pictures and then I have coded folders for each one, and then they select which photos appeal to them. Kasi the selection of photos, it has to come from the participants. So, they just score. They just score yung which photos appeal to them most. Okay. And then document findings. It should be disseminated to the public, not just to the participants. Kasi the goal of Photo Voice is to exact change in the government or to whomever, a policy, a company. Okay. So you have to show it in public, the results. Of course, do not disclose the names. Okay? So, okay. So, so factors to consider when selecting your research design. I already mentioned a lot of research design. Now you ask yourself, anong bagay? The research question, dun sa research question nyo. Lived experiences ba? Stories ang gusto nyong malaman? Case? The culture? Okay? The nature of the phenomena in question, and then your available resources. For example, is it near you? Is it far? Do you have the time, the luxury of time? So these are things you consider when you want to select your research design. Okay? Okay, let's go to mixed methods. Okay? May nagtatanong kanina sa mixed methods. So, mixed methods, as I've mentioned, is... Ay, bakit nawala? Okay. Okay. Mixed methods. As I've mentioned, for mixed methods, it is a mixture of quanti and qualitative studies. Okay? So, there pwedeng quanti-qual, quantitative, qualitative, or qualitative, quantitative. When you say quanti-qual, quantitative yung mauuna, and then the qualitative is merely to explain further the quantitative part. When you say qualitative, quantitative, the qualitative explanation comes first, and then the quantitative backs up what you already know in qualitative. Okay? So, the advantages of combining are madami. Okay? So, actually, there are no disadvantages of... Bakit nawala? Nawala nga. Okay. So, so, the advantages of mixed method is that it's more valid because you use both approaches. It can be generalizable. It can give you different perspectives. And what else? So, in short, mixed methods gives you a wider view, a wider approach, and it can give you more credible results. Okay, let's leave it at that. So ethical considerations, the informed consent, all that time, you have to inform whoever you will interview about your study and ask them for permission before continuing. Confidentiality, by no means do we disclose anything related to the research. Okay? Anonymity, you do not put their names, you use pseudonyms. Okay? You use do not put identifying marks. So, participant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or kunyari, nurse 1, nurse 2, nurse 3, nurse 4, nurse 5. Okay? Then, other ethical considerations. Okay, I want you to, sa trustworthiness, meron tayong Nawala yung trustworthiness ko dito. Okay. Saan ba? Nawala na. Excuse me. Okay. So, trustworthiness. There are 4 factors that we practice. Okay? That we have to establish in establishing trustworthiness. In quantitative, it's called rigor. In qualitative, it's called trustworthiness. So we have 4. Ito, credibility, confirmability, dependability, transferability. So, credibility is to know the veracity. How truthful is your study? So earlier, someone asked about how do we know if it's valid? So at the appendices, it's credible because you will include there the exact transcript, the full transcription of your interview with your participant. Yung exchange nyo, you will put it there. Plus, in your data analysis, remember you have to write who said this, who said that, participant 1, participant 2. Okay. So that makes it credible. Next, transferability. Transferability. Can your paper be transferable in other contexts? Meaning, if sa nursing, pwede ba siya sa psych? Okay? So, that's how we establish the transferability. Sa confirmability naman, you provide a confirm audit trail. Remember your member check? So, sa confirmability audit trail, you show there that they agreed to you the results of your study because it was confirmed by your participants. And finally, the dependability is if in the event a person would want to replicate your study, do they have all the necessary data such as your transcript for them to repeat your paper? Okay, I hope that was clear. So, okay. So, in conclusion, when you design, when you select, I have already mentioned, you have to take note of the research question, of the nature of your problem, and what you intend to happen. Okay, so, okay, these are my references for this topic. Okay, any questions? I will open my, ilan yun? Third? My gosh, third pa lang ako. Haba pala. Good evening, ma'am. How do you make sure that you're generating sensible codes and good themes during the analysis of the study? I'm kind of OC, right? So my best friend is the thesaurus. I make sure it's kind of catchy. Kasi why would someone read it if it's not, catchy? For example, di ba si Dabda, I already told you about Dabda, right? So yung akin, yung sa photo voice ko, 3H. Hurting, hardening, healing. That's my, that is the result of my study. The process of someone losing a child is 3 phases. Hurting, hardening, healing. So, that's a theme, right? Pero I made it into a framework. Hurting, hardening, healing. Hurting means the person is hurting. Hardening is, I don't feel anything. I feel like a rock. I don't have feeling. I'm dead inside. Hardening. And then when you come to acceptance, because you already accept that it wasn't your fault, you accept that you lost someone, that's the time you're healed. So it's healing. Okay? So I hope I was able to answer your question, Miss Tokero. Use the thesaurus. Okay. So let's go to data gathering. So kayo, thesis writing na kayo, important na to sa inyo. Definition of qualitative, ay sorry, wait. Ulit muna tayo. Sa